will allow us to continue the Church's work in our diocese while equitably compensating our creditors.
The Harrisburg Diocese files for bankruptcy.
In September 2016, we had to respond to the grand jury investigation, which forced us to incur heavy legal costs.
It claims the grand jury has taken a toll on the church's finances and more suits are possible.
On behalf of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Harrisburg and in my own name, I continue to offer my heartfelt apologies for the abuse you suffered.
Coming up on CBS 21 News at 6, we take a look at what this means for victims, parishioners, and the future of the Harrisburg Diocese.
And Skyview 21 flying over St. Patrick Cathedral in Harrisburg tonight. As we've been saying, the Harrisburg Diocese has filed for bankruptcy, and this really leaves the future of victims of clergy abuse and parishioners wondering what's next. Thanks for joining us at 6. I'm Jasmine Brooks.
A lot of questions over this tonight, so let's get to it. I'm Rob Hanrahan. We're covering this story for you from every angle, from the announcement to the reaction. We've got you covered. We have team coverage of today's groundbreaking announcement. Let's get right to CBS 21's Michael Gorsegner kicking off our team coverage. Michael.
Well, Rob, just about an hour and a half ago, church leaders wrapping up a news conference here at the Diocese of Harrisburg, outlining the reasoning for this bankruptcy filing. Bishop Gaynor using words like unhealthy, unsustainable, challenging to describe the church's financial situation, something he says that had to be done to move the church forward. Bankruptcy. Bishop Ronald Gaynor walking into the room to address members of the media about this morning's bankruptcy filing. In the series of documents, the church claiming only $1 to $10 million in assets, with an estimated 200 to 299 creditors and liabilities that stand upwards of $100 million. Now, staring down those huge numbers and the possibility of 200 more victims coming forward, the church deciding to go in the bankruptcy direction. But make no mistake about it, church leaders say this is an attempt to financially make good on the church's obligations, including paying out the survivors of clergy abuse.
I continue to offer my heartfelt apologies for the abuse you suffered. I also offer my apology and deepest regret that the diocese did not do more to protect you.
Tomorrow in the diocese is going to look exactly like yesterday in the diocese. Church is going to be open. Schools are going to be open.
Along with the bankruptcy filings, the diocese also filing claims today against its insurance carriers. To date, the church leaders say insurers have not covered any of the $12.7 million in payouts to the 111 victims through the compensation fund. They are asking for the insurance carriers to pick up some of that tab. Now, not part of the filings are any of the church's assets when it comes to the 98 churches across the 15 counties. Many of their churches have their own LLCs to cover their land, their building, and even funds. Right now, that is not a part of this filing. Now, the future obviously remains unclear as to whether or not they will become a part of that filing. Live in Harrisburg, Michael Gorsegner, CBS 21 News.
Michael, thank you. An attorney who's been handling local sex abuse cases involving the Harrisburg Diocese says if you're a victim, now is the time to file, even if the state assembly would pass a statute of limitation window in the future. CBS 21's Karina Chung continues our team coverage tonight to explain. Karina?
Attorney Ben Andriozzi says all claims must be put in with this bankruptcy filing. He explains if you were abused and you don't put in a claim, you'll have no claim here in the future. Andriozzi says this highlights the importance of coming forward about sexual abuse and acknowledges that it is hard for survivors to do so. He says there is a limited time frame through the bankruptcy process for people to come forward with that claim. Andriozzi says even if a statute of limitation window would pass here in the Commonwealth, there would be nothing they could do legally after the diocese wraps up its bankruptcy filing in court. It wipes their slate clean.
Those people right now cannot come forward, but the legislation is advancing. Even if that window was to pass, it wouldn't help any of the survivors in the Harrisburg Diocese because the bankruptcy process would sort of trump that window. They would still have to have their claim submitted into the bankruptcy.
And Andriozzi says no date has been determined on how long people can file those claims, but again, stresses the importance of doing so, or you won't be able to. Reporting live in Harrisburg, I'm Karina Chung, CBS 21 News.
All right, thanks so much, Karina. Now the community weighing in as well following this big announcement from the Harrisburg Diocese.
CBS 21's Andrea Finney spoke with numerous people throughout Harrisburg this afternoon. Andrea, what was the reaction to this?
Well, Rob, Jasmine, actually, a lot of people did not want to talk about this subject. They said it was a sore subject, and many declined to go on camera. Now, one couple did tell me that they still believe that the Catholic Church is still very powerful despite their financial status, so they did not want to go on camera as well. I did find some others who were willing to share their opinions.
I mean, I'm not surprised. You see corporations do it all the time.
I agree with the state's position that they've been trying to hide too much for too long, and now it's time to come clean.
Bible says, be sure your sins are going to find you out, and they're being found out.
Things that are covered, that they tried to cover, God's making it come into the light, and so that might have some kind of penalty, whether it be financial or, you know, just being embarrassed.
Now, again, many people said this was a very tense subject, and they also said the church filing for bankruptcy only heightens that tension. Reporting live, Andrea Finney, CBS 21 News.
Andrea, thanks. Today's announcement is the latest chapter in the Harrisburg Diocese abuse scandal. Here's a quick look at how we got here. This started following a scathing grand jury report in 2018 outlining decades of sexual abuse by more than 70 priests and cover-up by church leaders.
There were two primary goals outlined by the grand jurors: to disclose the abuse and to ensure it never happens again. The critical question now is whether elected representatives and church officials will actually listen.
Since the report, the diocese opened a temporary settlement program. Many of those now adult victims identified in the grand jury report are too old under state law to sue the diocese. The state legislature last year took a crucial step toward amending the state constitution to give those victims a new opportunity to sue their abusers and institutions that may have covered it up.
The grand jury urges lawmakers to create a civil window in Pennsylvania so that older victims may now sue for damages from when their bodies were defiled as children.
The proposed amendment allowing such a lawsuit window must be passed by lawmakers again in the 2021-22 legislative session before needing approval by voters in a statewide referendum. The bankruptcy filing comes 6 months after the diocese paid out $12 million to more than 100 victims. 6 others did not accept payment offers from the diocese. And PA Attorney General Josh Shapiro just issued a statement this afternoon. It reads in part, "It's of no surprise to me that these dioceses who engage in sophisticated cover-up of child sexual abuse have found a legal maneuver to skirt responsibility above themselves financially and continue to avoid transparency. This is yet another attempt to deny survivors the justice that they are owed by the church." And we will continue digging for answers on this story. You can follow along on our social media platforms and, of course, anytime on our website, cbs21.com.
And now CBS 21 News first warning weather, where it's a brief return to winter. A little chillier today despite all the sunshine. It was these winds that made it so chilly. Still kicking at about 15 miles per hour out of the northwest. So still a little breezy this evening, but the winds will diminish, and under clear skies for the most part we will see these temperatures take a little dive. And then the clouds will increase overnight tonight. So 9 o'clock tonight we're sitting at 34 degrees. Late tonight start to see the clouds increase, and 11 o'clock here at 30 degrees. 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, a bit chilly, 26 as you start out. The next 2 days, we don't get out of the 30s. Yeah, there's winter for you. We're back with your 7-day forecast in just a few minutes. Rob, Jasmine, back to you.
A deadly fire in Haiti has a link to PA.
Our Brian Sheehan takes a closer look when we return. And later on, a look at how corrections officers are trying to get a safer workspace.
You're watching CBS 21 News at 6.
An investigation continues into what caused a fire that killed 15 children at an orphanage in Haiti. And tonight, we're looking deeper into the Pennsylvania connection.
CBS 21's Brian Sheehan is here now with the story. So, Brian, what have you learned?
Well, Rob and Jasmine, this burned out orphanage is run by a religious nonprofit based in Scranton. And according to officials with UNICEF in Haiti, it was not accredited. Tonight, we're hearing from those who claim the kids shouldn't have been inside at the time of the fire. Scranton-based Church of Bible Understanding runs 2 orphanages in Haiti. Officials say at least 15 children were killed last week when a fire broke out at one in the outskirts of Port-au-Prince.
I heard sirens going up the road.
Yvonne Trimble is a missionary who lives near the scene.
I went through the building yesterday and it was horrendous. You could see the hot spots where the fire had broken out, where the paint was burning off the walls.
According to UNICEF in Haiti, the orphanage was not accredited at the time of the fire. On its website, the organization stated that children's homes operating without accreditation must develop a plan for gradual closure for children to have access to adequate care. Trimble says conditions inside were some of the worst she's ever seen, with more than a dozen beds missing mattresses and a bathroom in a deplorable condition.
I've lived here for 42 years and I've seen a lot of bad things, but this is at the top of the list.
Well, we reached out to the church's Scranton office this morning for comment, but haven't heard back. We also reached out to the Pennsylvania Attorney's General Office to see if they are conducting their own investigation. We are also waiting to hear back from them. Rob, Jasmine?
Brian, thanks. When CBS 21 News at 6 returns, a Western PA man is charged with kidnapping and murder. What he had to say in his first public appearance since his arrest.
And pull out that winter coat. You'll need it the next 2 days as well, as we only stay in the 30s. A little brief return of winter. We'll have your first warning forecast straight ahead.
The Western PA man charged with a murder that resulted in an Amber Alert is maintaining his innocence.
I'm sorry that you're under the misimpression of the news and everything else.
That is what Keith Bradshaw had to say to the families of William Stewart and Damian Mickey. Bradshaw was arrested yesterday in Chambersburg. Officers say he and another man jumped a fence with the intention of kidnapping a 16-year-old Damian Mickey, but he was caught by Mickey's mother's boyfriend, who saw Bradshaw, who was accused of the killing. The teen's mom says the 16-year-old and the 32-year-old Bradshaw were in an inappropriate relationship that the teen had broken off. Bradshaw is facing murder and kidnapping charges. He has been denied bond.
One day after being shot, the victim of a violent incident in York has died. 19-year-old Shailik Folk was shot in the 400 block of Smith Street Monday night. He was taken to York Hospital where he died Tuesday night. Right now, investigators are looking for clues, but they believe Folk was the target of gunfire.
Most of the gun violence in cities, when it comes to a person being shot, they're shot by someone that they know or are familiar with. That's nothing new. I won't get into the specifics about this particular investigation.
Folk lived on Smith Street in the same block where he was killed. At this point, police say they don't have a lot of information or any suspects in the city's first homicide of the year.
About 1.7 million Pennsylvanians that rely on government aid could potentially lose their SNAP benefits. Today at the state capitol, a few food security agencies gathered to speak out against the proposals from the Trump administration on lowering welfare aid. Those speaking talked about the negative effects cutting food assistance programs can have on people.
Average monthly SNAP benefit comes out to about $4 a day per person. Think about your average grocery bill. Living on $4 a day for a month doesn't take someone very far.
The Department of Health will continue to visit with more communities to share how cutting assistance can be harmful to those that are using government assistance.
Today calls for safer working conditions for corrections officers. The Pennsylvania State Corrections Officers Association held a press conference at the Capitol today to advocate for more safety for our officers. Those speaking today spoke about the brutal violence the officers face every day against the inmates that resulted in taking the life of a PA officer. The association is asking as well for state departments of the corrections facility to start reporting more of issues that happen within the corrections facilities.
As corrections officers, we accept that our job is inherently dangerous, but the level of violence inside our state system right now is increasing as the department continues to look past the violent behavior in order to get as many inmates out on the street as they can.
And about 100 officers were at that press conference today.
The York Fire Chief is staying put, at least for another year.
City Council voting unanimously last night to extend the waiver for Chief Chad Deerdorf. That means that he can continue working even as a resident of nearby West Manchester Township. Under York regulations, all directors are supposed to live in the city, in city limits. The waiver is good for 1 year.
And now, CBS 21 News First Warning Weather with Chief Meteorologist Tom Russell.
All right, let's take you outside. You ready? Oh, come look at the television. You got to see this one. Yep, Skyview 21 doing its magic again as sunset's still about a half hour ago, but boy, it looks gorgeous, doesn't it? Just amazing. You get that little bit of hue right before the twilight is finished there. Skyview 21 saying, yep, we got it for you tonight. Beautiful shot across the Susquehanna and looking west tonight. All right, let's bring you back and show you where we go from here because we got a little dose of winter. Yeah, we haven't seen too much of that this winter. Take a look here. We've got the winds dying down tonight. That's going to allow our temperatures to dip into the 20s. So a couple of cool days and then a very nice weekend is coming our way. Plus, no rain until Monday. How about that? That's a nice 5-day stretch. All right, here's what we got tonight. That system that, gave us all the rain and all the nasty stuff yesterday, that's well to our south and east, including places like maybe Virginia Beach and then into the Carolinas. So for us, it's been windy. That's been the only complaint today. Plenty of sunshine, but these breezes out of the northwest really added to our chill. You still see a 15-mile-per-hour wind there. Again, as the sun sets here, the evening goes on, the winds will diminish. So let's talk about the next 24 hours. So here's Lancaster, here's Harrisburg, here's York. So you're going to see that temperature take a dip into the mid-20s. So heads up first thing tomorrow morning as you look here at 8 a.m. we're at 25 degrees. So a cold start tomorrow and lots more cloud cover tomorrow too. But we're still getting to the 30s for highs, mid-30s, so a little bit chillier over the next 2 days. As far as our rainfall goes, well, nothing we said until Monday, but watch where some rain or some precipitation in the wintry form is, right here into the Carolinas. That blue is snow, so snow from Raleigh over to the Outer Banks. They will see snow and you won't here in central PA. So our next rainfall doesn't come until Monday, as we talked about, so look for increasing clouds on Monday. It doesn't come until later in the day. This is about 5 o'clock Monday. So some rain settles in, from Monday night into Tuesday. That's when we're dealing with some rain. So in the meantime, a pretty nice evening. We just showed you that great shot from Skyview 21. Increasing clouds overnight. It is colder as we're back into the mid-20s, but a couple of really nice sunshiny winter days. So a little more cloud cover tomorrow and then plenty of sunshine Friday through the weekend. So the next 2 days are chilly. The weekend is phenomenal. Sunshine, highs each day is around 50. Increasing clouds on Monday with rain coming back Monday night and lingering for most of Tuesday back into the 50s. And next Wednesday, mostly cloudy and 49. But we're getting through February with a get-out-of-jail-free card, I think.
Sounds like it.
No snow and no cold stuff.
I love it when snow shovels have dust on them.
Yes, and the new snowblower I bought, total waste of money.
So far.
Do you want to buy it?
Are you outside the window to return it?
Do you want to buy it? Good question. Okay, sports is coming up in just minutes with Joel D. Smith. Don't go away.
And now, CBS 21 Sports with Joel D. Smith.
Oh, you can't tell the way this guy looks right now that he went through one of the most horrific crashes in NASCAR history less than 48 hours ago. His miraculous recovery and what's next for Ryan Newman in less than 2 minutes. But first,
we talked about it as a group about trying to conserve, I guess, as best as we can, the guys that are getting down on their supply.
As the head coach of a big-time hockey program, we're talking about University of North Dakota, and they're rationing their hockey sticks now to make sure they have enough to last the rest of the season, all because two of the biggest stick makers in the world have manufacturing plants in China, and those plants have been shut down due to the coronavirus. Wow. It was a fun trip to Happy Valley last night. Hope you were able to check out our coverage. Big Ten basketball against Illinois, but the 8-game winning streak is over. Nittany Lions only hit 4 3-pointers and couldn't stop this guy, Ayo Dosunmu. Well, he had 24 points, including this game clincher. Coach, what can this first loss in a month teach the team?
I'm still proud of my guys. We just won 8 games in a row. So great lessons to be learned from this game, that you got to show up every single night in the Big Ten. Nothing's going to be handed to you.
Penn State's next game, Sunday at Indiana. It's a little easier to watch this now after we know the great news we just received this afternoon about the condition of Ryan Newman. We brought in the expert to take a closer look in this week's Eye on Injuries. This is the update we were waiting for. Hey, everybody. Got Dr. Rob Gallo here with us, and this is Ryan Newman with his kids, smiling. I mean, nothing's hooked up to this guy, and then you're going to see him actually walk out today. He's out of the hospital, doctor. What can we say about this? It's just amazing.
So you never really know in trauma what had happened to him, and we've come a long way in trauma care.
Yeah, so there he is walking out today. Just because he's out doesn't mean he's out of the woods. Let's watch this actual crash one more time. A little easier to watch now that we know he's okay. He was in the lead, he gets spun out. First impact is there, second impact is there. What would you be looking for as his doctor in the days to come, even though it seems like he's okay?
So obviously the first things they're worried about is just life-sustaining stuff.
Yeah.
You're worried about head injuries and neck injuries and all vital organs. And then the orthopedic injuries become more the issue later on. Well, sometimes you often see injuries that were missed initially, so they'll have a big femur fracture or something, and then you'll pick up these secondary injuries later that they had no idea were there.
Right, doesn't mean the doctor missed it, it's just
Correct.
They don't always show up. And you're telling me the reason it doesn't show up, why is that?
Sometimes the femur is so painful it distracts every other injury, so you may have pain in your foot and you don't realize it because it hurts so bad.
Your body's working so hard on that first one that hurts so much. Okay, so once again, the best news possible. Ryan Newman out of the hospital, but certainly we'll keep an eye on him in the coming days.
Wow, that picture is so, telling. It's just to see that.
There's no doubt he's going to be sore. I mean,
at the very least, we thought it would be worse. And
yes.
that's why we tried to get a gauge on this. And I says, yeah, just check him out later. But so far, so good.
Some great news there. A little chilly over the next 2 days, but hard to complain with 30s. As we get into the weekend, lots of sunshine right around 50. So if you don't have some, make some weekend plans and get outside. It looks nice.
Okay.
That's CBS 21 News at 6. The evening news is next.
We hope to see you again tonight for CBS 21 News at 10 and 11. Thanks for joining us. Good night.
Thank you.